folks, welcome to DataType channel. Today we are going to learn how to use data type on JavaScript. On previous tutorial we learned how to use conditions. Let's just start directly by adding some variables here for just showing you different examples for data type. So usually data type is really important in JavaScript or in programming in general. So you need to focus on this tutorial. It will be really important for your future on learning JavaScript. So let's first, as we learn how to define a variable, first let's define a constant variable. First variable, let's just call it, for example, name. Just now I'll try to show you all data types that commonly are used on JavaScript. So first one, let's just, as I mentioned, let's start by string. How to define the data type for a string. Usually that will be inside double quotes or a single quotes. For example, let me add a comment out this here, or just single quotes or backtick. So this also is going to be called backtick. So if you need to add a string for multiple line, you would use this backtick, and you can add more than line. So let's just show you an example. But if you need to use only one line, so basically double quotes or single quotes will be fine. So first one, let's just start by first one, which let's just say Modwina, for example. This is just a name. This is a string. Let's just try to render this name down at the bottom of this code here. Before rendering that, let's just save this and go to the browser, showing you what is display. It will display only the tutorial title. So let's just display that name here. Let's add h4 and then display this variable name. So this is a name that we displayed. If you go to the browser, now that's showing name, the Modwina. We will mix JavaScript with HTML by using this curly braces, and then inside you can call the variable. And then next, this is the first data type we have is a string, and the next data type will be a number. For example, let's just add after this const and variable. Let's declare a variable age, and age assigns this age to a number. So this number basically could be integer, decimal, so any type of number. So let's just add this 90, and so here let's try also display this age and call the age here age variable, and save it. Go to the browser. That age is 90. You can add a text. After this 90, you can say years and save it. Age is 90 years. And the next data type, let's say, is a boolean, called boolean. First is initiator variable, and let's this variable call it x, and the value. So boolean usually would be only to a value, true or false. Let's say if x is true, and then an extra variable, call it y, and this y is false. So this is called a boolean data type. So I will add a later actually some documentation here, so for you can come back later and to just review this and to understand which each one of them will represent. Let's try also to display this boolean basically for usually this will be used for conditions. If you need to check something, if it's equal true or false, then as a result of that we'll try to do a specific action. So but for this tutorial here, basically we're just showing you the example, and for example, let's try to display that at the bottom too, and just call the variable x and y. Save this and go to the browser. It will show the value nothing, because true or false will not be actually displayed on the browser. It's just a boolean that you would usually use for a condition. Next data type is undefined. We have another data type called undefined, and just let's assign, let's say, declare a variable, call it a height, and this height by default the value will be undefined. This data type you can declare a variable to equal to undefined. So this is one of the data type we have also. And next one is a null data type. Let's say weight, and assign it to null. So the initial value for the weight, it will be null, which is nothing. And these two different also data type we can use actually in some cases. And let's just duplicate this and try to display them here at the bottom. and then just call the variable here, and then the weight, and they will not display anything because undefined and null will be treated same as true and false, will not display anything on the browser. And usually also we use this for initiating a value. For example, initial value, for example, a number, if you have a data type number, the initial value need to be 0. Not, you don't need to be 0, but you need, for example, you can be null or undefined, and then you can update that value with a new value, for example, if you're managing any state or different state. So next is object or date object. So date object usually will be if you need to declare a date. For example, let's just declare a variable, call it date, and to use a date object, usually you will use this key new, then date. So this by default will display you the current today date, but so let's just start by that example. Let's just display that at the bottom here. And also to call this date, so basically by default this date will return an object. You need to if you need to display it, basically you need to convert this to like a string or something. So basically you will do dot to, for example, local string. So this is a method, one of the date method. So we'll come back to talk about method and coming tutorials more and in details. So let's save this and go to the browser, and that's showing the today date basically and time. So if you need to display also this in different format, you would use to type of format. Let's do local to date local string. This is just to display local string. Date always a date, and that's a date object. Next, which the object data type, we can declare object data type by just declaring a variable name. For example, let's call a person, and this person will assign to object. And object data type, usually you will use this bracket here, this to represent object, and inside then you will define the key of this object. For example, name, the same the name that we have, and then the value of this key could be any one of this data type we came through here. For example, it could be string. Let's just use a string. Let's use here in this example single goodies more Duina, and same next one, let's just use age, and that would be 90, and then go for example x, which should be true. And also after each line, at the end of each of this value, you need to add a comma. You have to add this comma, then start the next key. And same if you go to y, so y then be false, and then comma, and then height, and that for example undefined initially, and weight, and actually let's just change height to 180 and weight to 90 or 85. And then let's try also display the date or add a date to this object, a new date. Let's try, as I mentioned, by default if you didn't pass anything to the date, it will display the current today date. But if you need to display like a very specific one, you can add a string inside here. It will be, for example, double goodies or single goodies, and then start write your date. In our scenario, first will be the year. Let's say it's 2022 dash, then a month, which will say January, then dash, then the 1st of January. So now if we save this, this is how to declare an object or a data type object, and then we can use that down here actually instead of this variable by calling that object. For example, this object here variable, then dot name. This is how to access this name, and same actually you can repeat the same for the rest. For example, also here person dot age. We'll take all of this two as example. If we save them and go to the browser, still so that displays a value. Let's just try if I change this name here to, for example, or change this age here to height, so we'd expect to display 180 years. If I save that and comes out now display 180 years. So that's how to declare an object and how to call it and how to access it. Let's just undo this here and leave the initial variable we were calling before. Let's just comment out this. Just let's go to next data type, or just leave it actually like that, will not affect the code. Next data type, which is an array object, let's just call a person object, declare a variable, call it person object. Next data type is array object. Let's declare a variable, and this variable just call it persons. And to declare this array object would be this bracket or a square bracket. An array object, it could actually include list of this object. For example, all the previous data type you can be included inside this array. For example, you can include list of object, or list of dates, or list, for example, string or numbers or boolean or undefined or null. So, and also it can include mix of all of them. I will give you some here example for all this scenario. So this list of example, just to speed up the tutorial with some documentation, and I will actually explain them one by one. First one here is this array object, array of list of objects. See this opening square bracket, and then inside here you would add the same objects that we declare here. So you can add multiple objects, and after each end of this object you need to add a comma. So you have to add comma, then adding the next, and then comma, and then this how to declare array of object. Next one, this array of string for data type string, and by just opening this square bracket, and then you can include list of string, for example names Muhammad, Adam, Ali. And also adding some documentation here, so you can come back later and see what this mean. And also you can declare array of boolean, and this also could be true, false, false. Same, you can declare array of numbers, and also you can declare array of dates. And last one, you can declare array of mixed data, different data type values, for example string, number, boolean, and object date. So how we can call or accessing this data here? So array will have actually more tutorials about array, because this you will use this actually a lot while you're developing anything using JavaScript. So basically here we'll give you very brief about how to use array. For example, let's say this array of string, if we need to display this first name here, so let's just call persons here inside this. Instead of this name, we'll call that persons, then open a square bracket, then 0. That means the first item inside this array, and save it and come to the browser here. So now if we reload, as you see that now displaying Muhammad instead of Moduena. So that's how to access the first item inside this array. As I mentioned, we'll talk more about array actually in coming tutorials, so because we need to talk about this more for more details. And this is how to declare object array. So these are all the data types that you would use with the JavaScript. If you didn't subscribe until now, subscribe so you can get all new videos and tutorial. Thank you for watching, and see you in the very next tutorial.